First Contact's burden. The crystalline spires of the Galactic Conclave stretched impossibly high into Proxima Centauri's violet sky, their surfaces reflecting starlight in hypnotic patterns. Isabella Rivers stood at the base, her diplomatic uniform feeling suddenly inadequate against the grandeur before her. 20 years of international diplomacy on Earth hadn't prepared her for this moment. Ambassador Rivers, a melodious voice echoed in her mind. The council awaits. She turned to face her guide, a being composed of shifting light and shadow named Varl. Like many of the newer species humanity had encountered, Varl's people communicated primarily through thought forms rather than spoken words. "Thank you, Varl," Isabella responded, grateful for the translation implant that allowed her to understand the complex telepathic language. "Though I must admit, I'm still unclear why I was chosen for this assignment." Varl's form rippled with what Isabella had learned to interpret as amusement. Sometimes the most qualified candidate is not the most obvious one. The grand doors of the council chamber parted silently, revealing a vast amphitheater filled with representatives from hundreds of civilizations. Some appeared nearly human, while others defied description. Beings of pure energy, collective consciousnesses housed in mechanical shells, and species that existed partially in other dimensions. At the center of the chamber stood two delegations, separated by an invisible but palpable tension. On one side, the Xerex, a species of silicon-based beings whose crystalline bodies housed vast neural networks. Their leader, First Resonance Tilara, towered over the others, her faceted surface refracting light in complex patterns that served as their written language. Opposite them stood the Mirkari, organic technocrats whose bodies were seamlessly merged with advanced technology. Their representative, Archindex, was a striking figure, part flesh, part flowing metal, with circuits pulsing beneath translucent skin. The council elder, a being of pure thought who manifested as a gentle blue glow, addressed the chamber. "We face an unprecedented crisis. The dispute between the Xerex Collective and the Mirkari technocracy threatens the stability of 3 spiral arms. Traditional mediators have failed. We require a different perspective." Isabella felt the weight of countless alien gazes upon her. The elder continued, "Humanity, despite its youth among the stars, has demonstrated remarkable adaptability and insight. Ambassador Rivers has been chosen not despite her species' relative inexperience, but because of it." Murmurs, both verbal and telepathic, rippled through the chamber. Isabella caught fragments of doubt, curiosity, and outright dismissal. The Xerex representative's crystalline surface flickered with patterns that her translator rendered as skepticism. "This human cannot possibly understand the complexities of our dispute. The resonance frequencies of our primary worlds are fundamentally incompatible with Mirkari technology. Their very presence threatens our existence." Archendex's cybernetic components whirred in what Isabella recognized as agitation. "Your crystalline matrices interfere with our neural networks. Every moment we spend in proximity risks corrupting generations of accumulated knowledge. We cannot abandon our colony simply because your people arrived in these sectors first." Isabella stepped forward, her voice clear and steady. "With respect, your situation reminds me of a crisis I helped resolve on Earth, between an indigenous tribe and a technology company planning to build a quantum computer facility near sacred lands." The chamber fell silent. Even the energy beings seemed to still their eternal motion. The company's quantum processors were sensitive to the geological formations the tribe had protected for generations. Both sides had legitimate claims, both faced existential threats, and both initially refused to consider compromise. Isabella paused, noting she had their attention. The solution wasn't in choosing sides, but in understanding that the conflict itself was evidence of a deeper connection between the parties. The elder's glow intensified slightly. "Explain." "The very fact that the Xerex's resonance frequencies interfere with Mirkari technology, and vice versa, suggests your species are more fundamentally connected than you realize. You're not simply incompatible. You're opposing harmonics of the same underlying principle. The Xerex leader's surface rippled with new patterns. The Mercuri Arcan circuits pulsed faster. Isabella continued. On Earth, we discovered that the geological formations could actually enhance the quantum computer's capabilities if the technology was modified to work with the natural frequencies rather than against them. I believe a similar principle could apply here. First resonance Stellaris patterns shifted to what Isabella's translator indicated was thoughtful consideration. You suggest our fundamental incompatibility could be transformed into a symbiosis. Precisely, Isabella said. But reaching that solution will require both sides to share detailed information about their physiological and technological limitations. It will require trust. The council elders' glow warmed. And this is why you were chosen, Ambassador Rivers. Your species understands both the price and the power of trust. You have known division, war, and reconciliation on a scale that mirrors our current crisis. Isabella stood straighter, feeling the weight of not just her mission, but of humanity's place among the stars. I'm honored to serve as mediator. However, I have one condition. The chamber stirred. Even the elder seemed surprised. Speak. I'll need a partner in this endeavor. Someone who understands both species technology at a fundamental level. Someone who can verify my proposed solutions are technically feasible. The elder's glow pulsed once. You speak of Cythera. Isabella nodded. She had researched extensively before accepting this assignment. Yes, the only known successful hybrid of Xerex and Mercuri technology. Living proof that compatibility is possible. The chamber erupted in a cascade of reactions, light, sound, and thought all mingling in a chaotic display. The elder raised an appendage of pure energy, restoring order. Thera has lived in self-imposed exile for 50 years. Many consider her existence an abomination. All the more reason she should be part of this, Isabella insisted. Her very existence proves what I'm proposing is possible. The elder was silent for a long moment. Finally, its glow shifted to a deeper blue. Very well. You will have one standard cycle to locate Cythera and convince her to aid your mission. Should you fail, another mediator will be chosen. A pause. And humanity's readiness for full conclave membership may need to be reevaluated. Isabella felt her heart race but kept her expression neutral. In a single moment, her assignment had transformed from a diplomatic mission into a test of humanity's place among the stars. She bowed slightly. I understand. I'll depart immediately. As she left the chamber, Varl fell into step beside her. You realize what you've done. Cythera hasn't spoken to anyone, organic, synthetic, or energy-based, in half a century. Isabella allowed herself a small smile. Then it's time someone reminded her that isolation rarely solves anything. Humanity learned that lesson long ago. The crystalline spires of the conclave caught the last rays of Proxima Centauri, casting long shadows across the landing pad where her ship waited. Tomorrow, she would begin her search for a living legend, while two ancient civilizations watched her every move. The fate of 3 spiral arms, and humanity's future among the stars, hung in the balance. She wouldn't have it any other way. The price of peace. The planet Nexus 7 hung in space like a cracked jewel, its surface traced with glowing faults that pulsed in hypnotic patterns. Isabella's ship, the Terran diplomatic vessel Horizon, approached cautiously. According to her research, Cythera had last been seen in this sector, drawn perhaps by the planet's unique properties. A world whose very crust contained both crystalline formations, similar to Xerex biology, and naturally occurring techno-organic compounds that resembled Mercuri neural networks. Remarkable, said Commander Riza Patel, her pilot and Earth's leading genotechnologist. The geological formations are almost a perfect hybrid of both species-based components. Isabella nodded, studying the sensor readings. No wonder Cythera chose this place. It's a living metaphor for what she represents. Their sensors suddenly flashed warning signals. A voice, neither fully organic nor synthetic, filled their minds. Your presence is unwelcome. Leave immediately. Cathera. Isabella broadcast on all frequencies, both electromagnetic and telepathic. I am Ambassador Isabella Rivers from Earth. The Galactic Conclave sent me. A bitter laugh echoed through their minds. The Conclave. Come to study the abomination again, or perhaps to finally pass judgment on my existence. Neither, Isabella replied firmly. I'm here because both the Xerex and Miracari face extinction if they can't find a way to coexist. Your existence proves it's possible. We need your help. Silence stretched for long moments. Then, a set of coordinates flashed across their navigation system. Land there, Cathera commanded. Come alone, Ambassador. Any scanning devices or weapons will be rendered useless anyway. Commander Patel shot Isabella a concerned look. Protocol dictates. Protocol won't help us here, Riza, Isabella interrupted gently. Sometimes trust has to be earned through vulnerability. The landing site was a valley surrounded by crystalline formations that seemed to pulse with internal light. As Isabella descended the ship's ramp, she saw a figure emerging from the shadows of a cave. Cathera's appearance took her breath away. The hybrid being stood nearly 3 meters tall, her form a seamless blend of crystalline structure and flowing techno-organic components. Light rippled through her transparent body in complex patterns, while circuits pulsed beneath surfaces that somehow managed to be both faceted and fluid. She was beautiful in an alien way that defied human aesthetics. You're either very brave or very foolish, Cathera said, her voice now audible rather than telepathic. Do you know what happened to the last conclave delegation that sought me out? Isabella met her gaze steadily. They tried to force you to choose a side, to denounce either your Xerex heritage or your Miracari modifications. They wanted to use you as propaganda. And you don't. I want to understand you, Isabella replied honestly. Because right now, 2 ancient civilizations are on the brink of war over the same differences that you've somehow reconciled within yourself. Cathera's form flickered with what might have been surprise. Reconciled? Is that what you think I've done? She gestured to their surroundings. I hide on a remote planet, alone, because my very existence disturbs both sides. The Xerex see me as corrupted. The Miracari consider me an unstable experiment. And yet you live, Isabella pressed. You function. Your mind bridges both ways of thinking. The very fact that you can process both crystalline resonance and techno-organic data streams proves compatibility is possible. At what cost? Cathera's form darkened. Do you know how many failed attempts preceded my creation? How many died in the pursuit of this compatibility you speak of? Isabella took a step forward. No, I don't. But I'd like to hear your story. The real story, not the propaganda both sides have spread. Cathera studied her for a long moment. Why should I trust you? Because humanity has been where both your people are now, Isabella said quietly. We've faced extinction-level events born of our own prejudices. We've learned that survival often requires us to embrace what we once feared. A pulse of energy rippled through the valley's crystals. Pretty words, Ambassador. But words alone won't solve this crisis. No, Isabella agreed. But they're a start. The Xerex and Miracari are already sharing the same space in 3 spiral arms. Their colonies are too intertwined to separate without mutual destruction. They need a solution. And you think I'm that solution? Cathera's tone was bitter. A cautionary tale of forced integration. I think you're proof that there's hope, Isabella corrected. Your existence may have been born of conflict, but you've survived. You've found balance. That knowledge, your experience, could save millions of lives. Cathera turned away, her crystalline components catching the light of the system's twin suns. You don't understand what you're asking. To help solve this crisis, I'd have to reveal secrets both sides would kill to keep hidden. The true reason for their compatibility. The real purpose behind my creation. Isabella felt her pulse quicken. What do you mean? The Xerex and Mercari weren't always separate species, Kythera said softly. Their division was artificial, engineered. I'm not just a hybrid. I'm a reminder of what they once were, what some believe they should never have become. The implications hit Isabella like a physical blow. You're saying, I'm saying, Ambassador Rivers, that if you want my help, you'll have to be prepared for the possibility that the truth will spark not peace, but revolution. Thara turned back to face her. Are you ready to carry that burden? Isabella took a deep breath, remembering the Council Elder's words about humanity's readiness for full conclave membership. This was more than a test of her diplomatic skills. It was a test of humanity's ability to handle complex truths that could reshape the galaxy. I'm ready, she said firmly. Whatever the truth is, it can't be worse than the alternative of endless conflict. Thera's form brightened slightly. Perhaps you are different from the others. She gestured toward the cave entrance. Come then, Ambassador. Let me show you what both sides have tried so hard to forget. But remember, once you know the truth, there's no going back. Isabella followed Kythera into the cave, aware that she was about to learn secrets that could either save or shatter two civilizations. The price of peace, she was beginning to understand, might be higher than anyone had imagined. Hidden threads. Deep within Kythera's cave, Isabella found herself surrounded by a mesmerizing display of history. The walls were lined with crystalline memory matrices interwoven with techno-organic data streams, creating a living archive that spanned millennia. Thera placed her hand against one of the surfaces, causing it to illuminate with images from the distant past. What you're about to see, Kythera began, has been erased from both Xerex and Mercari historical records. 10,000 years ago, we were one species, the Kyrzx, a civilization that had mastered both crystalline technology and organic enhancement. The walls shimmered, showing beings that combined the most striking features of both current species, bodies of translucent crystal housing organic components, all seamlessly integrated with advanced technology. Isabella watched in awe as these ancient beings constructed impossible megastructures and harnessed the power of stars. Then what happened? Isabella asked, though part of her already dreaded the answer. Pride, fear, the eternal companions of advancement. Thera's voice carried ancient sorrow. A philosophical divide emerged. One faction believed our future lay in pure crystalline ascension, shedding all organic components to become beings of pure resonance. The other sought to perfect the merger of organic and synthetic, pushing the boundaries of what consciousness could become. The images shifted, showing the beginning of a schism that would reshape civilizations. The division became violent. Rather than risk mutual annihilation, the leaders of both factions made a decision that would echo through millennia. They used experimental quantum technology to force an evolutionary split. Isabella watched in horror as the ancient Kyrzx civilization literally tore itself apart, its people physically transforming into two distinct species. They chose to become incompatible with each other, she whispered. Yes, Kythera confirmed. The crystalline faction became the Xerex, while those who embraced techno-organic evolution became the Mercari. The process was devastating. Millions died. Those who survived had their memories altered to believe they had always been separate species. But why maintain the deception for so long? Kythera's form darkened, because the split was never meant to be permanent. It was supposed to last one generation, allowing both sides to pursue their ideal of perfection. Then they would reconvene, share their discoveries, and decide humanity's future path together. Something went wrong, Isabella guessed. The separation drove them mad. Kythera gestured, and new images filled the cave, scenes of increasing hostility between the two species. Without their counterbalancing aspects, both sides became extreme versions of themselves. The Xerex grew rigid, obsessed with purity. The Mercari became consumed with constant change and enhancement. Each came to see the other as a perversion of life itself. Isabella processed this revelation, her diplomatic mind already racing ahead to its implications. Your creation. It wasn't an accident or an experiment, was it? No. Clara's form pulsed with emotion. I was created by a secret group of scholars who discovered the truth. They believed that by proving reintegration was possible, they could heal the ancient wound. Instead, both governments branded them terrorists and hunted them down. I am the only survivor of their work. A distant alarm suddenly pierced the air. Clara's form tensed. We have company. It seems sharing these secrets has not gone unnoticed. Isabella rushed to the cave's entrance. In orbit above Nexus 7, she could make out the distinct shapes of both Zirex and Mercury warships. They followed me, she realized with growing horror. Both sides have monitored this sector for decades, Cthera explained, moving to activate ancient defense systems. They tolerated my existence as long as I remained silent. But the moment I began sharing the truth, "We have to get back to my ship," Isabella said urgently. "The horizon has diplomatic protection." "Your ship has already been disabled," Cthera interrupted, showing her a sensor display. "This is what I warned you about, Ambassador. Some truths come with a price." The cave shook as the first energy weapons struck the planet's surface. "They'll destroy everything," Isabella realized. "All this history, all this knowledge. Not if we act quickly." Cthera moved to a hidden chamber, revealing what looked like an ancient technological marvel. A combination of crystalline architecture and techno-organic components. "This is a quantum resonance broadcaster. If we can transmit the truth to every Zirex and Mercury colony simultaneously, they won't be able to suppress it." "They might still try to kill us," Isabella pointed out. "Yes," Cthera agreed, "but they won't be able to kill the truth. Sometimes, Ambassador, that's the best we can hope for." As more weapons fire rained down around them, Isabella made her decision. "How can I help?" Cthera's form brightened with approval. "The broadcaster requires both crystalline and organic input to function. I can provide the first, but I need you to interface with its organic components. It will be unpleasant." "Will it work?" "Either it will begin the healing of a 10,000-year-old wound," Cthera said solemnly, "or it will spark a war that will consume the galaxy. Are you prepared to take that risk?" Isabella thought of Earth, of humanity's own violent history and painful path to unity. "Sometimes the only way to prevent a war is to risk starting one," she said. "Let's do it." As they worked to activate the ancient device, with enemy ships closing in and time running out, Isabella couldn't help but wonder if this was what the Council Elder had meant about testing humanity's readiness. Perhaps their species' greatest contribution to the galaxy wouldn't be technology or culture, but the hard-won wisdom that came from facing their own divided past. The broadcaster hummed to life, its components beginning to resonate with both crystalline and organic energy. Above them, the warships grew closer, their weapons charging for a final assault. Whatever happened next would change the galaxy forever, and humanity's place in it. The strength within. The quantum resonance broadcaster pulsed with increasing power, its crystalline components harmonizing with organic frequencies in ways that hadn't been witnessed in millennia. Isabella stood within the calibration chamber, her body serving as a living conduit for the organic signals, while Cthera's form channeled pure crystalline energy through the ancient device. Pain lanced through Isabella's nervous system as the broadcaster synchronized with her biology. Through gritted teeth, she asked, "How will we know if it's working?" "When every Zirex crystal matrix and Mercury neural network in the galaxy starts receiving the truth of their shared history," Cthera responded, her own form flickering with the strain. "The real question is how they'll react to it." Above them, the attacking ships had ceased their bombardment, their sensors no doubt detecting the massive energy buildup within the cave. A transmission cut through their defenses. "This is Archon-Dex of the Mercury fleet. Cease your activities immediately or face obliteration." Another voice joined in, the crystalline tones of First Resonance Tilara. "For once, we agree with the Mercury. Whatever you're attempting must be stopped. Isabella felt a surge of defiance. They're working together to stop us. Ironic, isn't it? Indeed. Cathera's form pulsed with grim amusement. The only thing that could unite them is their shared fear of the truth. The broadcaster reached critical resonance. Isabella's vision blurred as ancient memories, not her own, began flooding through her consciousness. The glory of the unified Kairos civilization, the terror of the forced evolution, the pain of separation, and the long, slow descent into hatred and fear. Transmission commencing, Cathera announced. Brace yourself, Ambassador. This will be intense. The cave filled with blinding light as 10,000 years of suppressed history burst outward through quantum channels, reaching every Zyrex crystal and Mercury implant in range. Isabella screamed as the full weight of that historical trauma poured through her organic systems. Through the haze of pain, she heard chaos erupting above. The warship's crews were receiving the transmission, experiencing their true history firsthand. Some ships began firing wildly, while others fell into defensive formations. The command channel filled with confused and angry voices. Lies, someone shouted. Abomination. But I remember, another voice broke in. How can I remember something that happened 10,000 years ago? The resonance patterns, they match our most ancient records. Shut it down. Shut it all down. Thera's voice cut through the chaos. You cannot hide from what you are, what we all once were. The separation was meant to be temporary, a chance for both paths to be explored. Instead, you let fear turn you against yourselves. Isabella forced herself to speak, her voice carrying to all ships. Look at what your division has cost you. 2 thriving civilizations reduced to fighting over territory because you can't bear to exist near each other. But you're not truly incompatible. You're incomplete. The broadcaster's power surged again, sending another wave of ancient memories to every receiver. This time, Isabella saw more than just history. She saw the potential future. Crystal matrices enhanced by organic flexibility, techno-organic systems stabilized by crystalline resonance. The perfection both sides sought had always required both approaches. No. Archon-Dex's voice shook. If this is true, everything we've built is built on a foundation of lies. Tilara finished, her crystalline tones carrying new understanding. Our entire civilization. A new voice cut through the channel, the unmistakable resonance of the Council Elder. The truth often threatens the structures we build to hide from it. The question is not whether your civilizations will change. They must. But how you will guide that change. Isabella felt hope spark through her pain. The Council knew. They've always known. Yes, the Elder confirmed. We waited for both species to be ready for the truth. But more importantly, we waited for a mediator who could understand both the pain of division and the price of reunion. Humanity's own history made you uniquely qualified, Ambassador Rivers. This was a test, Isabella realized. Not just of me, but of humanity's readiness to help guide older civilizations through their own conflicts. A test you have passed, the Elder said, though the harder work lies ahead. The broadcaster's power finally began to fade. As the ancient device powered down, Isabella collapsed, her body drained from channeling so much energy. Thera caught her, her hybrid form providing surprisingly gentle support. Above them, the warships had fallen into an uneasy formation. Neither fleet was firing anymore, but the tension remained palpable. Millennia of hatred and fear couldn't be erased with a single revelation, no matter how profound. What happens now? Isabella asked weakly. Cathera's form pulsed with cautious hope. Now the real work begins. Both sides must learn to face their shared past and find a way forward, together or apart, but this time by choice rather than fear. They'll need help, Isabella said. Guidance. Yes, Cathera agreed. And who better to guide them than a species that has faced its own divisions and emerged stronger? Perhaps this is humanity's true role in the galaxy, not to advance the fastest or build the biggest empires, but to help older civilizations remember what they've forgotten about unity and understanding. As medical ships from both fleets approached to assist them, Isabella realized that this wasn't just a diplomatic triumph. It was the beginning of a new era for all species involved, including humanity. The galaxy was about to change, and Earth would play a crucial role in shaping that change. The price of truth had been high, but the reward would be even greater, a chance to heal wounds that had festered for millennia, and in doing so, prove that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its technology or its diplomacy, but in its ability to learn from its own painful past to help forge a better future for all. A new dawn. 3 months after the revelation at Nexus 7, Isabella stood once again in the great chamber of the Galactic Conclave. But this time, everything was different. The chamber had been modified to accommodate both Zirek's crystalline resonance patterns and Mercury neural frequencies, allowing both species to exist comfortably in the same space, a small but significant step toward reconciliation. Archon Dex and First Resonance, Tulare stood together at the center, their forms reflecting their first tentative steps toward reintegration. Tulare's crystalline structure now incorporated subtle techno-organic elements, while Dex's cybernetic systems showed traces of crystalline architecture. Neither was as fully integrated as Kythera, but they had begun the journey. The transition has not been easy, Tulare announced to the assembled delegates. Many of our people resist change, clinging to the purity they have known for millennia. And many of ours fear losing their identity, Dex added. The memory of what we once were has awakened profound questions about who we are now. Isabella listened from her new position, a seat among the Council of Elders. Humanity's role in revealing and handling the ancient truth had earned them full membership in the conclave, and with it, greater responsibilities. Thera, who had finally emerged from exile, stood beside her. "They're adapting better than I expected," she observed. "Though there have been incidents." Isabella nodded grimly. Not every colony had accepted the truth peacefully. Some had chosen isolation, while others had attempted to purge the recovered memories through technological means. A few had even turned to violence, requiring conclave intervention. "Change is never uniform," Isabella replied. "Earth's own history taught us that. The important thing is that they're facing the truth together." The council elders' gentle glow drew everyone's attention. "We have gathered today not just to assess progress, but to discuss the future. The reintegration of the Zirex and Mercury forces us to reconsider many of our assumptions about species development and evolution." A holographic display activated in the chamber center, showing the first successful voluntary hybridization since Kythera. A young Zirex scientist had worked with Mercury engineers to safely incorporate neural enhancement into her crystalline form. The process had been documented and shared across both civilizations, proving that controlled integration was possible. More importantly, the Elder continued, "This revelation has implications for other species in the conclave. How many other artificial divisions exist that we have taken for granted? How many conflicts are rooted in forgotten connections?" Isabella felt the weight of the assembled species' attention. Humanity, despite its youth, had demonstrated a unique ability to face uncomfortable truths and adapt to radical change. Their own history of overcoming divisions, while far from perfect, offered hope to older species grappling with similar challenges. "Which brings us to our next crisis," the Elder announced. "We have detected quantum resonance patterns in the Andromeda galaxy that suggest another ancient schism, one that makes the Zirex-Mercury separation seem minor in comparison." The chamber erupted in murmurs and telepathic exchanges. Isabella straightened in her seat, already anticipating what was coming. "Ambassador Rivers," the Elder addressed her directly. "Humanity's handling of the current situation has proven your species worth many times over. We would ask you to lead a delegation to Andromeda. Your experience with the Zirex-Mercury reunion makes you uniquely qualified to handle what we may find there." Isabella glanced at Kythera, who nodded almost imperceptibly. "I would be honored," she replied, "though I have one condition." "Speak." "Cythera comes with me," Isabella said firmly, "not just as an advisor, but as proof that even the deepest divisions can be healed." The elder's glow warmed with approval. "Agreed. You will depart within the month. The Horizon has been upgraded with both crystalline and techno-organic components, making it one of the most advanced ships in the Conclave fleet." As the chamber began discussing the logistics of the Andromeda mission, Isabella felt a profound sense of purpose. Humanity had found its role in the galactic community, not as conquerors or mere peacekeepers, but as healers of ancient wounds, guides for civilizations facing their own shadows. Cythera's form brightened with what Isabella had learned to recognize as pride. "You realize this mission could take years. The Andromeda Galaxy's quantum signatures suggest civilizations far older and more complex than anything in our galaxy. Good thing humans are known for their patience and persistence." Isabella smiled. "Besides, someone once told me that the price of truth is always worth paying." The chamber's crystalline spires caught the light of Proxima Centauri one last time as Isabella and Cythera made their way to the horizon. Behind them, the newly united Xerex-Mercury delegation began working on plans for their first joint colony, a symbol of hope for all species facing their own divisions. Above them, the stars beckoned with new promise. There were more truths to uncover, more wounds to heal, more bridges to build. But for the first time in galactic history, the future seemed to hold more hope than fear. Humanity had proven itself ready not just to join the galactic community, but to help lead it into a new era of understanding and unity. As the Horizon prepared for departure, Isabella thought about the long journey ahead. The price of peace had been high, but the rewards, understanding, growth, and the chance to forge a better future, made every sacrifice worthwhile. The galaxy was changing, and humanity would help guide that change, one truth at a time. The end.